Nice launch director and countdown net. Pad is clear.
Launch director NTD, our launch team is ready to proceed at this time.
On is in startup.
Ground gas closeout is complete.
Go for launch. Stage 2 is pressing for flight.
Vehicle is ready to launch.
Mission director, you have permission to launch.
It's 10,
9,
8, 7,
liftoff. United Launch Alliance outside rocket.
1, ignition. We have liftoff.
Stage 1 is transonic. Landing right side deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Hola gente, estamos en un nuevo video para el canal, bueno, una nueva transmisión para el canal, donde al parecer tendremos dos lanzamientos en un tiempo muy corto por parte de SpaceX. Tenemos el lanzamiento de la misión, bueno, el primer lanzamiento que estamos viendo en estos momentos es de la misión por parte de la compañía SES, que son los satélites MPOWER Missions, de que se lanzarán desde un Falcon 9 de la, bueno, una versión reutilizable, ya sabe cómo son estos. Se va a enviar una órbita de transferencia media, donde se envía la mayoría de este tipo de satélites, más los de satélites de posicionamiento global, los GPS. Así que en estos momentos estamos esperando el lanzamiento porque ha tenido algunos retrasos. Y el siguiente lanzamiento se tratará de bueno, el siguiente lanzamiento se espera un lanzamiento del cohete, bueno, el segundo cohete más poderoso en estos momentos que ha llegado a la órbita, que se trata del cohete Falcon Heavy en la misión Viasat 3. Así que hay dos plataformas en estos momentos esperando su lanzamiento con un tiempo determinado de 2 horas en cada de un lanzamiento a otro se espera. Aún no tenemos informes de que hasta cuándo se va a lanzar esta misión, para que le dé paso libre para el Falcon Heavy, que ya está esperando desde la plataforma LC-39A del Centro Espacial Kennedy. Se comenta en la última noticia de que posiblemente la hora de lanzamiento del Falcon 9 será a las 22:16 UTC. Muy bien, al parecer estamos a menos 40 minutos para el lanzamiento del Falcon 9 de la misión OB3 Power Mission. Y tenemos ya 1 hora y 55 minutos para el lanzamiento del siguiente, que es del Falcon Heavy. Bueno, vamos a hablar. Según mete la primera, será el segundo vuelo del este propulsor, que es el B1078, que ha tenido un vuelo anteriormente. Y fue una misión de reabastecimiento a la Estación Espacial Internacional, enviando una cápsula Dragon de segunda generación, que fue de la misión. No fue de reabastecimiento, fue. Perdón, es que no leí bien la información. Bueno, este propulsor había sido lanzado en la misión anterior de la parte del programa de tripulación comercial, que fue de la misión Plus 6. Seguramente este propulsor va a intentar aterrizarse desde la plataforma Just Read and Instruction, o seguiré tus instrucciones. Ya están esperando desde el Océano Atlántico. Ya todos saben de que 9 desde Cabo, Cañaveral o Kennedy aterrizan en el Océano Atlántico, así que vamos a estar esperando para el momento del lanzamiento.
The Falcon 9 at launch pad 40 this afternoon.
Hold for propellant load and launch is complete. We are go for propellant loading. Hold on countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch auto sequence and proceed into launch.
Bueno, mientras estamos esperando para que se pueda hacer ya el lanzamiento del Falcon Heavy, ahí está, tenemos ahí, de un lado tenemos...
The launch team has been given a go to proceed with propellant load. You just heard the launch director briefing the team on the abort instructions should there be a need to halt the count.
Es el único cohete de SpaceX, o al menos va a ser el único cohete donde ha tenido una probabilidad de lanzamientos con un 100% de éxitos, con sus únicos 6 lanzamientos de que no han tenido ningún fallo, comparado con el Falcon 9, de que ha tenido 3 fracasos durante sus más de 200 lanzamientos desde que se lanzó.
Launch auto started.
The propellant load sequence is now underway.
Muy bien, ahí estaremos esperando el encendido de los motores. Se comenta por parte de Falcon Heavy, aún no se ha adelantado ni atrasado la cuenta atrás. Vamos a estar atentos. Bueno, no podemos hablar de un cohete que aún estamos estrenando, pero vamos a estar más atentos primero con el lanzamiento del Falcon 9. No sabemos cuánto. Bueno, está investigando cuántos satélites se están enviando en esta misión por parte de la compañía SES, estando en su lanzamiento. Bueno, mientras tanto hay que estar diciendo unas curiosidades sobre aquella empresa de que estamos viendo su lanzamiento. Bueno, aparte, esta empresa ha sido la primera de que ha contratado SpaceX desde que lanzó sus primeras Dragon a la Estación Espacial Internacional. Esta fue la primera de que lanzó hacia la órbita de transferencia geoestacionaria después del lanzamiento de la misión CRS-2. Y esta misma compañía también había permitido de que se lanzara uno de sus satélites en un Falcon 9 totalmente reutilizable, que se había lanzado un satélite con el propulsor que había aterrizado unos meses anteriormente con la misión CRS-8. Muy bien, vamos a estar atentos. Aquí tenemos toda la atención, primero con el lanzamiento del Falcon 9 con el propulsor B1078. Hemos tenido unos problemas de internet. Muy bien, vamos a estar atentos. Muy bien, vamos. Muy bien, estamos aún esperando.
28 minutes, 35 seconds and counting. This is Stephen Clark once again, reporting live from Kennedy Space Center. We're about 4 miles away from Launch Complex 40, where SpaceX is now loading propellants into the Falcon 9 rocket. This begins with loading of kerosene and liquid oxygen into the first stage, as well as kerosene fuel into the second stage. And then at 16 minutes before liftoff, we expect to see liquid oxygen load onto the second stage begin. Now 28 minutes until launch. So we've heard the go for propellant load and the confirmation that propellant load is underway at pad 40 for the Falcon 9 rocket. If you look closely, you can see some of the condensation and vapors building up around the liquid oxygen tank on the first stage. Visual confirmation that cryogenics are now being loaded into the vehicle. Once again, if you're just joining us and you haven't done so yet, please hit the thumbs up or the like button here on our YouTube stream. That really helps us out with our coverage. We want to bring this double launch feature with the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy to as many people as possible. And one way you can help us do that is to hit the thumbs up or the like button. That helps us attract more viewers to our coverage.
Muy bien. Aún no hay noticias sobre el lanzamiento.
Also, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. I'll try to get to a few of those during our coverage tonight. I may have more time after the Falcon 9 launch, in between the two launches, to answer some questions from our viewers. But if you want to put a few in the chat, I'll try to get some as we go through our coverage. If you want to help us with our coverage, one way to do that is in the chat to contribute through the super chat function here on YouTube. This money helps us maintain and purchase new camera equipment, as well as potentially add to our team here at Cape Canaveral to help bring you more extensive launch coverage of launches here in Florida and around the world.
Aún estamos esperando. Bueno, aún estamos siguiendo. Era demasiado temprano para que iniciamos el stream. No hay ninguna trazo por el momento. Solamente de que nos dicen por parte de SpaceX que para el lanzamiento de Falcon Heavy iniciarán las probabilidades de lanzamiento de un 50% al inicio y un 70% puede mejorar hasta el final de la ventana de lanzamiento. Tendremos aproximadamente entre una hora de lanzamiento por cada una hora de diferencia por cada lanzamiento de Falcon 9 y Falcon Heavy.
Stage 2 fuel load complete.
Coming up on the T-minus 20-minute mark, we just heard a call from SpaceX Launch Control that the second stage fuel load is complete, so the second stage has been fully loaded with its supply of rocket-grade kerosene, and now we're seeing the so-called big vent from the strongback out at pad 40. This is a vent of gaseous oxygen associated with the purge or chill down of the liquid oxygen loading line that leads from the ground storage tank for that cryogenic oxidizer up to the umbilical inlet where the liquid oxygen will be loaded into stage 2. It has to be routed up the length of that strongback into the second stage, more than 15 stories above ground level. So that line is currently being thermally conditioned for the flow of that super cold liquid oxygen into the rocket beginning in about 3 minutes or so. Everything continuing to look good for launch of the Falcon 9 with the O3B MPOWER number 3 and 4 satellites at 6:12 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 22:12 UTC.
Muy bien, no hay ningún adelanto para el lanzamiento. Pues así estamos a 20 minutos a 19 minutos para el lanzamiento.
Stage 2 LOX load has started.
And we've heard the call now, approaching the T-minus 16-minute mark for the Falcon 9 rocket. That liquid oxygen loading now is underway on the Falcon 9's second stage.
No, se argumenta ya. Ya iniciamos transmisión, ahora sí. Ya inició la transmisión de SpaceX del lanzamiento por parte de la compañía SES. Está bien. Bueno, mientras tanto seguimos esperando. Tenemos que ya cómo le dan para lanzar dos cohetes donde tardarán cada tiempo en ponerse en órbita para que se preparen para que de nuevo se preparen para el próximo lanzamiento de Falcon.
Nice launch trajectory countdown. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8,
Launch auto sequence has
7,
started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed.
Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Hello, and welcome to our webcast coverage of the O3B MPOWER mission for our customer SES. On your screen is a live view of Falcon 9 awaiting its 6:12 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. My name is Yomizo, and I'm a propulsion engineer here at SpaceX, joining you today from SpaceX headquarters here in Hawthorne, California. Today's launch marks SpaceX's 226th overall mission, the second launch this week, with the potential of a third of our Falcon Heavy vehicle awaiting liftoff at our neighboring pad in just over an hour from now, as long as weather cooperates. Now, some of our longtime viewers might know that SES was one of SpaceX's earliest launch customers and has been a key partner in a number of firsts with us. SES was the first commercial satellite operator to launch on Falcon 9 from the Cape back in December of 2013, and the first customer to fly on a flight-proven booster on March of 2017. Today's launch will mark the second of 5 total O3B MPOWER launches. We launched the first 2 O3B MPOWER spacecraft in December of last year, and today we will be launching 2 additional O3B MPOWER spacecraft into space. Now, SES's O3B MPOWER system will operate from medium Earth orbit, or MEO, and comprises an initial constellation of 11 high-throughput and low-latency satellites, as well as an extensive ground infrastructure. Collaboratively designed with Boeing, the O3B MPOWER is SES's second-generation MEO system. And with that, here's a video sharing a bit more about our mission today.
Another launch, another milestone. 3, 2, 1. Today marks an important step on the way to a new era of satellite service. SES's third and fourth O3B MPOWER satellites are ready to be launched into space. They will join the first pair of satellites 8,000 kilometers from the Earth's surface in the medium Earth orbit. From government operations critical to national security, to underserved communities across island nations, to cruise passengers in the middle of the ocean, O3B MPOWER ensures an extraordinary satellite-enabled network experience where high-speed connectivity is secure and reliable at all times.
O3B MPOWER is scaled ridiculously from our original O3B constellation, and that means in fixed data, in aero, in cruise, and in government, we're able to take our base capability but deliver it to so many more users simultaneously and with 10 times the capability.
By offering industry-best throughput, predictable performance, high availability, and unprecedented flexibility, O3B MPOWER makes it possible for SES's customers to carry out critical applications, to delight end users, and to grow new revenue streams. Together with more than 30 technology partners, SES has been rolling out the O3B MPOWER ground system worldwide. The next generation ground equipment is more portable, easier to install, and more efficient, enabling faster access to secure and reliable O3B MPOWER services. A new era of high performance is here. Are you ready?
Muy bien, ahí. Bueno, no entendí nada.
On your screen is a live view of our Falcon 9 vehicle. The 2-stage Falcon 9 stands 229 feet tall, or slightly taller than the Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy. When it's fully fueled, it'll hold just over 1 million pounds of propellant that the vehicle will burn through in less than 3 minutes after liftoff. We began loading those propellants on both stages at about T-minus 35 minutes. Now, starting from the very top of the rocket, our payload today is safely enclosed inside of the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which is that structure at the very top of the rocket. It's made out of a carbon composite material. The fairing protects satellites on their way to orbit, and the fairing halves will be jettisoned approximately 3 minutes into flight. Now, for today's mission, we have 2 spacecraft on the second stage and inside the fairing. Each payload will deploy at separate times, about 6 minutes apart from each other. And the fairing halves supporting today's mission are flight-proven, with one half flying for its 3rd time and the other half flying for its 4th time. Now, just below the payload fairing, we have the second stage that will take the O3B MPOWER payload to space. The second stage will ignite its single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine about 2.5 minutes into flight, and then relight for a second and third time before we deploy the 2 satellites. Below the second stage, we have the inner stage, which is a part of the first stage. And as you can see on your screen, the carbon fiber inner stage has a distinct black color because it is unpainted TPS, or thermal protection system, and it protects the composite material of the inner stage. Now, at the bottom of the first stage, there are 9 Merlin engines that will get the Falcon 9 off the ground and up into the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. Shortly after liftoff, the first and second stages will separate from one another. Then the second stage will continue to orbit, while the first stage will start making its way back down to Earth. The first stage is designed to be reflown with minimal refurbishment between flights. Today's booster is actually flying for the second time, having previously supported the Crew 6 mission back in March, a little less than 2 months ago. Now, if we're successful in recovering the booster on screen, it will mark the 188th successful recovery of an orbital class rocket. And lastly, that large truss structure.
For strong back retract.
That large truss structure is the strong back, or the TE, transporter erector. As you heard on that call out, we are pressing for strong back retraction. But the TE is what routes the vehicle's fluids, power, and telemetry umbilicals from the ground systems to the rocket and satellites until Falcon 9 goes on internal power and clears the pad.
Strong back retract has started.
There you heard that call out that the sequence for starting strong back retraction has begun. You'll physically see the strong back retract in just a few moments. Now, while we're waiting for the TE to retract, you'll see that the clamp arms just below the fairing are opening there. You can see that they have opened up. Now, the first stage is connected to a launch mount at the base of the TE, but the structure is hinged, so it will retract away from the vehicle in preparation for launch. And as you heard, the strong back is also what the launch team refers to as the transporter erector. Now, at this point in the countdown, both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. Both the first and second stages should finish loading propellant about a minute apart from each other, with the first stage finishing up at T-minus 3 minutes here in just about 15 seconds, and the second stage at T-minus 2 minutes. Now, those white clouds you see around the vehicle is the chilled gas. There's that call out that stage 1 liquid oxygen loading is complete. Stage 2 should follow shortly in just about a minute. Now, again, that venting white cloud that you see is from the TE LOX line and is totally expected. Now, at T-minus 60 seconds, Falcon 9 will be in startup, and this means the rocket's autonomous internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. And just inside of T-minus 2 seconds, we light the Merlin 1D engines for liftoff. Now, SES's O3B MPOWER payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket. Weather is currently a watch item, but we're pushing towards RT0 at 6:12 p.m. Eastern Time in hopes of clearer skies, and the range is ready for support.
Stage 2 LOX load complete.
Stage 2 LOX loading should be completing here shortly. Now, again, at T-minus 1 minute, Falcon 9 will be in startup, where the first and second stages will begin pressurizing for launch, and Falcon's internal flight computers will take over the launch countdown.
Bueno, las computadoras ya iniciarán a controlar todo el vehículo, tomarán miles de decisiones y verificaciones donde nos irán. si ya estará listo o no para el lanzamiento, y también en estos momentos iniciará las presurizaciones finales de los tanques de combustible tanto de la primera y segunda etapa. A menos 45 segundos, el director de lanzamiento dará la verificación del lanzamiento, o sea, va a decir el go for launch.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Muy bien, ahí estamos.
Falcon 9 is
Ya
in startup.
está el mismo cohete ya
Internal
controlando
flight computers have taken over the launch
para decidir
countdown.
si se va a lanzar o no, y la presurización final. Muy bien, escuchemos.
LD, go for launch.
We have launch directors go for launch. All systems are go for launch of Falcon 9 with the O3B MPOWER payload.
T-minus 30 seconds.
30 segundos. $20 segundos y ahí estamos listos para el lanzamiento.
15 seconds.
15 segundos. 10, 9, 8, 7,
7, 6, 5, 4,
vamos.
3,
2,
2,
1.
1. Ignition. Engine 4. And go. Falcon 9 and SES O3B MPOWER. SES O3B MPOWER.
Stage 1, propulsion is
Muy
nominal.
bien, ya ha salido de la rampa.
Vehicle's pitching down range.
Muy bien, nos estamos acercando al punto de máxima presión aerodinámica. Tenemos el roll orden.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off of Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, carrying the O3B MPOWER payload. During ascent, we tilt the engines, technically called gimbling, and this turns the rocket horizontally in what we call a gravity turn.
Supersonic.
Muy bien, nos
You heard that call out that the vehicle is now supersonic, and we will be throttling the engines down in preparation for max Q, or maximum aerodynamic pressure, in just a couple seconds.
Para pasar el punto de máxima presión aerodinámica o max Q. Muy bien, está en max Q. Ya como en unos segundos volverá a su velocidad máxima para que pueda salir de la atmósfera.
Now we pass through max Q, and the rocket typically needs to go 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid hold back down to Earth. You heard the call out that MVAC engine chill has begun. Now this is in preparation for 3 events coming up in quick succession, which is main engine cutoff, stage separation, and second engine startup 1. So these 3 events will all be happening in about 30 seconds here, starting with main engine cutoff of those first stage engines that you can see on your screen right now.
Muy bien, ahí sabemos.
Stage 1 throttling down.
Muy bien, nos acercamos al Vico. Muy bien, sí, estoy apagando el motor principal. Hubo separación. Separación.
And there you heard and saw those 3 events happening back to back, main engine cutoff, stage separation, and that second engine startup 1 of our second stage. You can see those grid fins on the first stage deploying as the first stage begins to make its way back down to Earth. Now the next event in just a few seconds here will be fairing separation, where the 2 halves of the fairings will separate to reveal our O3B MPOWER satellites.
Fairing separation confirmed.
There's that confirmation of fairing separation, and we will be attempting to retrieve these fairing halves again today once they fall back down to Earth using our recovery vessel, Bob. It's T plus 3 minutes and 50 seconds here into today's mission, and we are in the first of 2 planned MVAC burns for satellite deployment.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
In about 2.5 minutes here at T plus 6 minutes and 30 seconds, you should see on your screen the first stage's entry burn. Now for this entry burn, we relight 3 of the M1D engines, starting with the center E9 engine, followed shortly by the E1 and E5 engines, which are all in a row. And this entry burn will slow the vehicle as it passes down into the Earth's atmosphere.
Muy bien, ya alcanzó los 10.000 kilómetros por hora en la segunda etapa. Que aún la primera etapa aún sigue ascendiendo. Ya nos estaremos acercando para la primera etapa que enciende sus 3 motores.
Beautiful views from the first and second stages on your screen.
Eso hará que baje la velocidad.
Now the first stage is making its way back down, preparing for its entry burn. We need to perform this entry burn to help reduce re-entry forces on the first stage, which will help us recover and reuse the booster.
Uno central y 2 de al lado.
Now again, during the re-entry burn, the first stage on the left will decelerate by firing its Merlin engines. It'll fire 3 out of the 9 engines, and this will actually cause the vehicle to fly down through the plume, which will deposit some of that soot back onto Falcon 9. Beautiful views from the first and second stage. Again, that second stage is in the first of 3 planned burns, carrying our 2 O3B MPOWER satellites. And the first stage is coming down, awaiting the start of its entry burn at T plus 6 minutes and 30 seconds. This will be about a 20-second entry burn. You can see the speed. You can see the speed of both the first and second stages on the bottom left and right hand side of your screens, respectively. First stage is about to start its entry burn.
Stage 1 FTS has saved.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
There's the start of the first stage entry burn.
Muy bien, se hizo el encendido de la entrada.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Muy bien.
That was a good entry burn from the first stage. Again, reusability is key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, which enables more investments in things like critical scientific research. Now, the Falcon 9 first stage that's supporting today's mission just performed its entry burn for the second time after previously having supported the Crew 6 launch just last month. Now, the Merlins on the first stage are optimized for sea level, whereas that MVAC engine you see on the second stage there is optimized for vacuum, which just means that it has a much bigger nozzle compared to the M1D engines on the first stage.
Eso es común.
Now, coming up in about 20 seconds, we'll have the shutdown of our MVAC engine on the second stage, followed quickly by the landing burn on our first stage.
Muy bien, se acerca el apagado del motor de la segunda etapa.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Ahí se ve. Tenemos de nuevo comunicación con la primera etapa. Muy bien, ya se hizo el ciclo, ya se apagó el motor de la segunda etapa optimizado para el
There was
vacío.
confirmation of second engine cutoff.
Nominal parking orbit insertion.
Muy bien, ahí
And
está.
a nominal orbital insertion.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Here it is, the start of our stage 1 landing burn, and you can see that drone ship coming in quick.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Muy bien, se hace. Nuevo aterrizaje tenemos.
What an awesome view of that first stage recovery. Everyone's very excited here in Hawthorne. And there you have it. That landing marks SpaceX's 188th recovery of an orbital class rocket, including first stage landings of Falcon 9 and Heavy. But the mission isn't over just yet. The second stage is now embarking on its first coast phase. Now, after this coast phase, we will light that MPAC engine for a second time around the T plus 27-minute mark. So we'll see you here, back here in about 17
posiblemente
minutes.
sí se lance. Ahora sí, sella todo y nos vemos ya en unos minutos.